So every couple weeks, I see this back and forth discourse that happens between like the Dragon Ball fans, and a lot of people have this debate, which it really shouldn't be a debate, but because there are two people who are taking this chapter of Dragon Ball Super a little bit out of context, there's gonna be a lot of back and forth. So these two people in question are obviously Echo and Gokage, and the topic in question is whether or not Goku can use the ability Hakai. So pretty much the entire notion that Goku can actually use Hakai stems from chapter 24 of Dragon Ball Super, where Goku uses his divinity as a means to basically erase Zamasu from existence. He succeeds in erasing half of his body, but then Zamasu recognizes the fault in the fact that he isn't immediately being destroyed, so he grabs Mai as a body shield as a means to make Goku stop. Now obviously this is a pretty rare thing because Goku does not pull this ability out ever again post chapter 24, and this is where the confusion starts to happen. When chapter 69 of Dragon Ball Super dropped, Echo and Gokage pretty much ran this entire meta of Goku does not have Hakai because of a few things in it. The first of which being when Vegeta was training with Beerus on how to actually perform the Hakai, he grabbed the rock and then dusted it, and when it became dust, Beerus made the comment that that wasn't Hakai, it was just simply a ki blast. Now that's part one of the argument. Part two of the first argument is essentially where Beerus explains what Hakai actually is. He talks about how the highlight of the ability is the explosion. So the comparative point here is that what Goku did to Zamasu allegedly isn't the same thing as what Beerus does or any of the other gods do, and it's essentially just a ki blast, the same thing as to what Vegeta does to that rock. And now the second argument comes from when Goku himself makes the statement saying that he messed up the ability. Now these arguments are faulty for many reasons, so I'm gonna start with the first one and just break it down piece by piece. First of all, comparing what Goku did to Zamasu and comparing what Vegeta did to that rock is a false equivalence fallacy. The reason I say that is very simple. It's because you're essentially comparing two situations that are not the same at all, and the reason being for that is quite simple. I want you to shift your focus to the actual colored versions of the Dragon Ball Super manga, and let's go back to chapter 24 of the actual manga. When Goku is starting to actually Hakai Zamasu, what color of dust does Zamasu turn into? If your answer was glowing purple dust, you are 100% correct. Now, I also want to shift your attention back to chapter 69 of Dragon Ball Super when Vegeta essentially tries to Hakai that rock and he dusts it. What color does that end up being? If you answered the color of the actual rock itself, you would be correct. So what's the point I'm actually making here? Well, if you can't see the difference already, allow me to point it out. These two outcomes are different. Yes, they're dusted, but the color and the actual iridescence of the colors are different. Over here with Zamasu, he's glowing purple, but when it comes to the rock, it's the color of the object. So again, if Goku simply just performed a ki blast, wouldn't Zamasu have just turned into like dust that's colored in his skin or colored, like him? Why would he look the exact same as when Beerus Hakai Zamasu all the way back in chapter 19 of Dragon Ball Super, I believe? Another example of someone using Hakai, Belmod literally Hakai's a handmaiden and she turns into glowing purple dust as well. Again, not the color of her skin, the color of her body, she turns into glowing purple dust, just like Zamasu when he was Hakai by both Goku and Beerus. Now, listen in very carefully. We're gonna get back to this in a second, but I do want to shift your attention to the second part of the first argument, where Beerus says the highlight of the Hakai is the explosion. To me, I think this is nothing more than Beerus explaining his own personal enjoyment and satisfaction from using Hakai, which makes some sense because the first time we ever see him use the Hakai ability is when he blows a planet in half, and quite literally there's an explosion there. Now people say that Beerus is referring to all gods in this sense because previously he does say that we gods turn something into nothing. However, that is completely disconnected. What we're talking about now is Beerus' own personal enjoyment, and I think that's heavily implied by the fact that nobody else who uses the Hakai, including Belmod, does the explosion effect. So again, if Belmod shared this own highlight with Beerus, why would he not have blown up the handmaiden? Doesn't make any sense. So all in all, what does Goku end up meaning when he says that he messed it up? Well, it's pretty simple. All we have to do now is go back and look at the consistency between Goku, Beerus, and Belmod and now see the differences. Now, when you see Belmod and Beerus Hakai, their respective people, what happens? You see instantaneous destruction. There's no time in between them saying destruction or them performing the action to initiate the ability and them being destroyed. Like, what's the difference? Oh, right. With Goku, it took physical time for him to be able to actually erase Zamasu, and he only got to half of his body. So this indicates a clear difference. He didn't do it like how the ability was supposed to be done. And that's kind of funny because it points right back to what Beerus was doing in chapter 69 of Super, because we see that he's exploding these things and it's taking no time for them to be destroyed. So again, we know for a fact that what Goku is mentioning is most likely about the time it took to destroy the respective object in question. People also like to point to Goku using it in the Moral arc allegedly, which again, no, it was simply just a ki blast. When you see the actual rubble and the rock and the dust, it's the color of the object, so it's not Hakai. Again, no. So yeah, all in all, Goku can use the Hakai ability. It's just something that he doesn't do often, and it's probably something we won't see him use ever again because he's now on the angelic path of divinity and he's not really focused on destroying things, more so being tranquil and focusing on his UI. So I don't really think he'll use it again, but it is something that he can do. There was never a retcon. Like, for you to insinuate that, you would need to back that up with some kind of evidence, and based on me pointing out the consistencies and the differences, I don't think anyone can justify that for me. Like, keep in mind guys, whenever I make these videos, I'm always open to hearing your opinions first. It's always about my fans and my supporters. It's never about, you know, the true undeniable fact and everybody, no, it's always about the opinionated point, but everybody has to have some kind of evidence to lead to the points that they're making. Without that, there's nothing there to back it up. There's no legs for it to stand on. Again, if you're going to debate in my comment section, that's cool, but at least listen to the arguments that are being made, or at least be versed on what you're talking about and be open to taking L's, because again, if you're going to lose, you're going to lose. It happens like that. So yeah, with that being said, it's been your boy Historic, and this has been about Goku being able to use Hakai, and yeah, I'm out. Peace.
Mm-hmm.